Many of you will know me as Mr. Lyons, the PE teacher, but I am also the services champion at Wallingford School. We have 29 students in our school community whose family members are currently serving in the armed forces. Being a service child myself, I have had both grandparents fight in the World War, my dad went to the Falklands and the Gulf War, and my stepdad served as an officer in the British and Australian Army. Remembrance Day is always a time to reflect on those who lost lives in battle, not only in both world wars, but also the number of conflicts that have happened since. It is also a time to think about families that have to live through fear of their loved ones going to battle and worrying daily if they will return. Some of the service students, their parents and staff connected to the services here wanted to share what Remembrance Day means to them.
My name is Holly and my dad fixes helicopters and he works in the office. And Remembrance Day means to me, it's quite special because my granddad was in the war, and it's quite special because the people died for us and won the war for the Britain.
My name is Michael, my dad fixes aeroplanes at Bryce. Remembrance Day means we have a few minutes of silence to remember those who died in the war.
My name is Emily and my dad flies Chinooks in the RAF. Remembrance Day to me means remembering all the people who would have fought the same job as my dad and been in the same work.
Hello everyone, you might know me in lots of different roles in schools, so as head of year 11 or health and social care or PE. What you might not know, however, is my husband is currently serving in the RAF and we live in the local community up in Benson. I think what Remembrance Day means for me is lots of different things, to be fair. First of all, it's about remembering those previous wars and those historic wars and the sacrifice that all of those family and all those serving personnel made during those wars for us to live in freedom as we do today. I think for me it's also a time to reflect on more current conflict and conflict that individuals are still involved with even today and have been previously. But I think more importantly for me, it's just a moment to reflect, and a moment to reflect on perhaps how lucky I am to have a husband who's serving in the Air Force, but equally a husband who's at home, a husband who my little ones can give a kiss to, a cuddle to, say good night to every day. And I think for me, it's just an opportunity to reflect on all those families that don't have that, maybe at this current moment in time, or don't have that because they've perhaps lost their lives, as I say, in previous conflicts. So yes, for me, it's about remembering the bigger picture and all of those things that have happened previously in conflict, but just remembering how lucky we are and how lucky we are to have our families together.
Hello, my name is Casey and my stepmom's in the RAF and she fought in a war in Afghanistan a couple of years back, and Remembrance Day is a day to respect and remember everyone who has fallen for us and our community.
Hello, I'm Wing Commander Matthew Tandy and my daughters Ellie and Lottie are former and current students at Wallingford School. I've been in the Royal Air Force, or just RAF, for over 30 years. Initially I trained as a helicopter pilot, and now I work in the Ministry of Defence in Whitehall, London, where I help with the planning and delivery of air operations both in the UK and overseas. For 10 years, I was lucky enough to fly the Merlin helicopter based out of RAF Benson, and during that time I deployed in operations to Bosnia, Iraq and Afghanistan. I was also privileged on more than one occasion to lead the flypasts over Wallingford town centre and the surrounding villages on Remembrance Sunday. Our wife Lizzie is the daughter of a former RAF navigator, and he served on the Vulcan at the height of the Cold War. So, with that background, as you can imagine, Remembrance Day is incredibly important both to me and to my family. As I pull on my uniform and prepare to join the crowds gathering in the market square in Wallingford on Sunday, I'll be thinking about all those who've been affected by war, from the First World War to the current day, and especially those who gave their lives to protect the freedoms that we do enjoy today. And in particular, I'll also be thinking about friends and colleagues who were deployed in operations and who never came home. I'm thinking about their loved ones, friends and family who they left behind. On Remembrance Day, I'm particularly moved by the words of what we call the Kohima epitaph and the exhortation, which we say around the time of the last post and reveille. I'm not going to repeat them now because I do find them really moving and you don't need to see me getting upset on camera. However, I do encourage you to Google it and then think of a loved one, think of that loved one not coming home, and then read the words out loud, and I think you'll see what I mean. So on Remembrance Sunday, I hope to see some of you in Wallingford, and I know others will go to Benson and to Chelsea. I think you can see it's really important that we do remember, and so let me thank you in advance for remembering.
My name is Sophie.
My name is Harry, and our dad works in the military. He hooks supplies onto helicopters to help people in need. Remembrance Day helps us remember those who lost their lives and fought for our freedom.
Hi, my name is James Cormack. My dad is Commander in the Royal Air Force. I think Remembrance Day is important as it's a good day to remember those who've fallen in combat.
Remembrance for me is about that very brief moment in our busy lives when we pause and think perhaps about things we take for granted. Just think this time last year there were people in Ukraine very like us who lived lives like us, who took for granted, like us, walking safely in the streets, their freedom, the borders of the country, and now things are very different. For me, the poppy represents conflict, and I do think about those affected by the tragedy of conflict throughout the world, not just combatants, but also civilians and the far-reaching effects of conflict. My medals do represent a more personal reflection. None of them are for bravery, but they reflect my own experiences in conflict zones like Bosnia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, and of course I pause and think about some of my own experiences, but also my friends and colleagues who sadly did not return from those places. And the uniform also makes me think about some quite traditional values like loyalty, service to others, duty. And I also think not just about the uniforms of those in the armed forces, but those like paramedics, fire and rescue services, also volunteers like scout leaders who give up their own time for others, and those not in uniform like doctors and indeed teachers. And I think it's important in a society where much of the rewards of wealth certainly goes to those who serve themselves, to think about those who serve others. So remembrance for me is about thinking about things that we take for granted just for a short period each year.